Hi, I am Christer Fugelsang of the STS-128 crew, and you are watching NASA TV.
Good morning, Discovery, and good morning today, Christer.
Good morning, and thanks for that wonderful music. Another wonderful day and around a wonderful world.
As you heard there, the wake-up music for European Space Agency astronaut Christer Fugelsang the song "What a Wonderful World," performed by Louis Armstrong. On board, the 13 crew members will have a bit of personal time before they start with their activities for the day, a day that's primarily going to focus on the installation of some of the new science equipment and hardware that has been delivered to the space station. They'll also prepare for the next spacewalk by configuring the 2 spacesuits that will be used by Danny Olivas and Christer Fugelsang for the EVA planned for tomorrow, where the 2 will continue with the replacement and installation of the new ammonia tank on the Port 1 truss.
Greetings to Jose Hernandez and to Danny Olivas, the first ones of Mexican origin that are in the station. Not only this mission, but this is also the first spacewalk that a Mexican or somebody from Mexican origin does. And the question is for Danny Olivas, but we see now that Jose is only with us. So, Jose, can you tell us how the EVA was today? Well, the EVA went very well. It was my job to get the suits on for Danny Olivas and for Nicole Stott, who did the spacewalk. Unfortunately, John cannot make it at this very moment. There were no other crew members available for this interview, and John couldn't make it. And that was the first spacewalk, and 2 more to come. And the purpose of the spacewalk was to remove an ammonia tank. And we also got an experiment that we removed and attached to the space station. We are also working on board on unloading the MPLM, and it is important to get all these objects out for future use on board this station. I know that you had a problem of communications for several minutes. Was it a lot of tension for you guys? No, because we have made so many EVAs that we have that experience, and the communications blackout was not a problem. We have made many spacewalks without video, and the communication with video is only luxury because we have practiced these EVAs. We have a huge water tank on the ground where we train, and we know exactly how we need to move, what the translation paths are, and if we lose communication or video, it's not a big deal. It's more a luxury so that the cabin can verify the work we're doing, but we were in no danger. I take it, Jose, that one of the most critical activities was to dock, and you did that very well. What is now the most critical activity coming up? Well, I think that all aspects of the mission are critical. It is important that all the ECLIS equipment is working properly. Naturally, the docking with the station is very critical, and the most dynamic moment of the mission is actually the launch, the first 8 minutes of the mission. And it is critical because we are right sitting on top of the rockets and surrounded by a whole lot of propellant. But once you get to space, things are calm, and then we focus more on the ECLIS system, the oxygen systems, and the water regeneration systems, as well as the food. And once we are in the station, the next operations or movement is to undock, and then another very critical moment is re-entry and landing. As you know, the orbiter heats up a whole lot during re-entry, and then later on the landing itself is critical. But since we have had more than 100 shuttle flights, we have the necessary experience, and it's not routine, but we do have experience doing all these critical movements.
José, ¿cómo estás? Qué gusto saludarte. ¿Cómo están las cosas allá arriba?
Jose, how are you? How are you doing? How are things up there?
Muy bien. ¿Con quién hablo? ¿Con Carlos Loroet?
We're doing well. Who am I talking to? Carlos Loroet?
Hola, querido José.
Hello, Jose. What do you feel like?
Se siente de maravilla.
I feel very well.
Con palabras no.
I cannot find words to explain how you feel in zero G. It's very interesting, very good experience, and I hope that in the future many more Mexicans have this experience.
¿Te da miedo, José?
Are you afraid, Jose?
No me da miedo.
No, I'm not. I don't have any fear. We are very well trained. We're well prepared for any contingency in space. Nevertheless, we work very hard, and we're so busy, and we don't even have time to think about danger. I see that you're playing with a microphone like a cowboy. Yes, I'm going to turn like a cowboy from Jalisco, but I'm showing you how everything floats. And sometimes it is very convenient when you can float, and sometimes it's not convenient because you have to adjust to things that on Earth may be simple, but in space may not be so easy, and the other way around. And Jose, what does Mexico look like from up there?
Te diré que se ve muy bello, eh?
It looks very beautiful. What really caught my attention is to see the world as a whole. When you go to school, you see the maps and the political boundaries, but when you are in space, you don't see borders, and that is very beautiful. And we ought to bring all the leaders and presidents up here so that they can see the world with no borders in this perspective, and so they can realize that it's not all that important if you have political borders.
First of all, it is just an honor for us to be able to talk to you while you're up there in the International Space Station. You have come so far in every sense of the word. Tell us what it's like to be up there right now in the middle of doing your dream job.
Let me tell you, it's a great experience, great feeling. Words can't do any justice to how it is to be up here on the International Space Station and the Space Shuttle Discovery, doing the work that we're doing up here. As we speak right now, we have 12 other people on the station busily working. I just took a break for this interview, and we are timelined to do a lot of work. And sometimes you just got to look out the window and enjoy the view. But it is just breathtaking, and I just can't describe it with my own with words. It's just indescribable.
Well, Jose Hernandez, we're thrilled that you're able to take this break to talk with us a little bit. And just wanted to let you know that last week when the mission was delayed because of bad weather, you should have seen all the people at the University of the Pacific that had turned out to watch the launch. So many people watching you from Stockton, where you grew up. How does it feel to be an inspiration to all those people?
I heard we had a pretty good crowd at the University of Pacific campus, and my thanks to them for setting that up and giving the Stockton community a forum where they can jointly view the event. My understanding is they continue to hold it for the actual launch, and I'm just very glad that people are interested in the Stockton community and the San Joaquin community. I'm hoping that the story serves as an inspiration to our kids that are in elementary school right now, in junior high school and high school, to realize that any dream can come true if you just back up that dream with a solid education and a plan to achieve that dream.
We should mention that you founded the Reaching for the Stars Foundation and continue to serve as an inspiration for children in this area. Talk to us about whether there were any surprises. You trained for a really long time for this mission, but once you're up there, it must be a little different.
Yes, it is. It is a little different, Edie, because what we do is we practice everything here at Johnson Space Center for our mission. So we're very familiar with the procedures. However, we practice everything in a 1G environment, and so they don't teach you the simplest things as like bracing yourself to do work. As you know, for any force that you apply, there's an equal and opposite force. So even when you're typing on the computer, if you don't put your feet and strap your feet down on something, you're going to go up or down depending on what direction you push on. And so those are the devil's in the details, and those are the little details they don't explain that you have to learn on your own.
You can type yourself right out of your seat. Okay, well, we also want to know, we were looking at your tweets, and one said, "Dia bastante pesado." So translated, that means a heavy, heavy day yesterday. You were busy yesterday. What's it like? Do you just kind of hit the ground running when you wake up?
Absolutely. We hit the ground running when we wake up. There's 7 of us as a crew for Discovery, and there's 6 station members. So there's a total of 13 of us here on the International Space Station and Discovery, and we are busily working. We just moved over the portable laboratory multi-purpose logistics module, Leonardo, docked it to the International Space Station, opened it up, and of course there's a whole lot of goods. There's food, there's electronic equipment, there's experiments that we're transferring from that module onto the International Space Station. We just completed a spacewalk. I suited up Danny Olivas and Nicole Stott, and they did a 6.5-hour spacewalk. We have 2 more spacewalks scheduled, and so there's a lot of activity for us in such a few short days.
We've been watching those from down here, and it's just incredible. Hey, speaking of, we watched one of your crew members float in behind you. He's just sort of strapped in and working on a computer there. Talk to us a little bit about what it's like. It's close quarters. You guys, no gravity to keep you grounded. What's it like working as a team like that up there?
Well, it's great. It's a close-knit group. The station members who are up here up to 6 months are veterans of a 0G environment, and so we always get kidded when we first dock when we first stuck into the station, the shuttle people are pretty clumsy, and so they laugh at us a lot, and then we get used to it.
Jose, it sounds like we're almost running out of time, but before we go, we would love it if you could give a wake-up message for your family members and all of your supporters here in Northern California. What would you say to them when they wake up tomorrow morning?
I would say, good morning, Northern California. It's great to be in space, and I've got my eye on you.
Jose Hernandez, what an honor to talk to you. We wish you the best during your mission and a safe trip back to Earth.
Godspeed. We'll see you back here.
ISS standing by.
Hi, my name is Patrick Bullock. I'm from Olympia, Washington, and I would like to ask you, how much different is it sleeping in space than sleeping on Earth? Does it feel any different? What kind of apparatus keeps you from flying off and bonking your head on some part of the ship or someone else? Thank you.
Hey, Patrick, that's a great question. Actually, the way we sleep in space is kind of like the way you sleep at home, except the great thing about space is you can sleep upside down, right side up, left. You can sleep diagonally. It doesn't really matter. Anywhere you want to put your bag is where you'll be sleeping. We do have hooks on our sleeping bags that keep us restrained in place. And those particular bags allow us to kind of keep us stable, but you really don't need to lay on anything like a mattress. You don't need a pillow. It's nice to have something that goes over your eyes, because you got to remember the sun rises and sets every 45 minutes here in space.
Al especialista José Hernández y a toda su tripulación.
To Mission Specialist Jose Hernandez and all its crew, we wish you from Peru lots of success in your assignment. My question is as follows. What is the objective of the International Space Station? Does Peru have possibilities to have a representative in this international space mission? How much time would you? I think the International Space Station, every day we conduct science and experiments and exploring different methods to create new medicine, because we have zero G. That's the expectative for the space station, to conduct experiments that cannot be conducted on the Earth. And Peru can participate in the space community as long as the Peruvian government wants to participate. We are making plans to go back to the moon, and if everything goes as planned, we think we're going to go back to the moon
para el 2016.
The year 2016. We are planning to establish a base on the moon a long time and have people living there. And that will be a first step to be able to go to Mars, and that will be done by our kids.
Hi, my name is Trevor Smith. I'm a aeronautical tech student at Arizona State. I'm also a pilot working on my instrument rating. I had a question about spatial disorientation, and there's a lot of talk in my pilot training about trusting your instruments, and I was wondering how you counteract that being in space, and any stories you might have about being spatially disoriented and how you get over that. Thanks. Hope you answer my question.
Your question about spatial orientation is actually a very valid question. On Earth, typically you're disoriented in a planar sense, but here in space, it's very three-dimensional. Orbital mechanics is quite a bit different than the way we fly on Earth. And just as you do on Earth, we do trust our instruments to get us into orbit. Once you're in orbit, you're kind of on your own to adapt. Certainly here in the space station, there is no up or down, left or right. The space station is basically configured like a ship. We have a forward, we have an aft, we have a port, we have a starboard, and that's the way we refer to everything within the space station. And we put labels up on the space station but allow us to get to anywhere we want to get to, basically just by following the directions. But you got to remember, it's very easy for us to be able to work on the ceilings as it is on the deck, and working on the port side as well as on the starboard side. So it really doesn't matter where you're at. It's very easy to get disoriented, so that's why you really got to kind of pay attention to what you're doing. Your question about whether or not what you do when your space suit is broken, well, you hope you don't have you don't have a broken space suit. That's why we take a lot of care in the design of the space suit, so it's very reliable. Plus, whenever we go out the door, we just don't jump in our space suits and go right away. We spend a lot of time preparing for that spacewalk. That's what we're doing today, because we have a spacewalk coming up tomorrow. So again, the way that you keep yourself safe is by checking and then double checking and then rechecking your double checking to make sure that everything is just perfect.
Hi, my name is Tom Lavanga, and I teach Earth and Space Science and Physics at Perkiomen Valley High School in Collegeville, Pennsylvania. My question is, with your unique perspective on the world from orbit, what advice can you give to the next generation of scientific thinkers as they enter adulthood? Thanks very much for taking my question.
I think the advice I will give to the next generation is, first of all, to think about taking up a field of study in science or engineering. And second of all, I would also encourage them to go into a high-tech arena, because that's the direction that we're heading. Thirdly, I think I wouldn't want them to forget about studying the environment of our planet and finding out new ways of how to protect our environment and how to protect our natural resources, because I think from the perspective that we have up here, when you see sunsets and sunrises, you can see how thin our atmosphere is, and that tells me that we have a very delicate balance in our Earth, in our planet, that keeps us alive, and any upset in that balance can have some very harsh consequences on the quality of our life. So that's what I would encourage our future generations, is to study how to protect our Earth and also how to advance science to look for life beyond.
Well, Houston, this was flight day 6 on the STS-128 mission. We got the whole crew up here on the flight deck of Discovery. Just a little post-sleep action here with exercise on the bike. And we've got everybody getting ready to start the day out there. We had a big day of MPLM transfer, so it's good to get the exercise in early so that we can have uninterrupted time in the MPLM. Here's Jose also jumping on there. You can see his Walkman's, his iPod is floating around in 0G up here. Next thing, we jumped into the MPLM, and there's a lot of paperwork which Krister has mostly been tracking for this mission. He's our load master for the MPLM, and I've been trying to help him out with that. Here, Danny and I are just discussing how to transfer the next item. And you can see there's a very nice choreography to get the MPLM transferred, and here's Krister doing rack transfers.
My buddy, European buddy Frank, and I had a lot of fun today. We transferred 3 great scientific racks into the U.S. laboratory Destiny. One for fluid science, one for material science, and one for storage of cold items. And you had to be very careful when you go these big things through the hatches. You see they barely fit through. But it's also not very easy actually to move it in 0G if you just take it slow. And we really had a lot of fun doing this. Taking this corner here was one of the most challenging things. And then when we came to the lab, we actually had to first dismount our toilet there for a while to pass through. Here you can see Frank guiding us, going through, I think it's getting out of the M&M, right? Coming around the corner. So this is rack number 2 now. getting ready to get it installed. So you can see rotating it into place, slowly coming up. Now, there's also a lot of people helping out there to guide it and get it into the right place. And here I'm happy. So that was Melfi coming into place, and two proud Europeans, European-built hardware for the International Space Station. Okay, here you can see CJ down in the MPLM and preparing for transfer. There's Danny as well. And it's a coordinated effort. You see Pat here tossing some of the equipment that's going to be stowed in the MPLM and sent back home. And we've set up a daisy chain of people to make that happen. It really helps to have a lot of hands with this because a little more difficult to control and zero gravity, but with lots of people, it makes the task very simple. You see Nicole there transferring some items down. And Jose's down there as well helping out, and you can see Christopher passing them on to CJ, and he's stowing those items. And we're transferring Frank DeWinna. He's actually going to come out. He won't stay in the MPLM. This next item is my seat liner that was in the Soyuz along with my Sokol spacesuit and survival equipment. And since I'm coming home on a shuttle, it's no longer needed. I've swapped out my seat liner with Nicole Stott, and that will be her lifeboat. And that's a very special seat liner so that when you land in a Soyuz, it makes the ride a little bit smoother and protects your body. Both my seat liner and Sokol spacesuit and Koichi Okada, who left on STS-127 and is back home safe and sound. You see how happy Nicole is to be on space station. It's a great life, and she's going to love it here. Tomorrow we have our EVA number 2, and we had to transfer my suit from the mid-deck over to the station airlock.
Yeah, here you see me transferring items from the MPLM to the node, and we have literally hundreds of items that we have to document and that we're taking out of the MPLM and put in specific locations because our friends are going to be looking for them when they need them, but the people that stay behind in the station are crewmates. Here you see me rotating a rack where we have just a lot of items in the back. A lot of them are scientific equipment. We even have extra food that we carry for the International Space Station crew.
Okay, and while the resupply mission is being carried out and all of the other things that are objectives for our mission, we also have to take care of Space Shuttle Discovery. So it's always in good shape and ready for a return to Earth. And one of the things we do almost daily is filter cleaning. When we get up here, these are the 3 inertial measurement units for the Space Shuttle Discovery, and they have fans cooling them. And because there's debris that floats around in zero-G, it tends to accumulate on those screens, so we get in there and vacuum it off several times during the mission so that those fans run freely. And there are several other fans that we do that for on board as well. Here's CJ again back in the MPLM. He's got a big book there. That's the resupply book. We have a resupply book for what's coming to space and a return book for what's coming from space back to the Earth. And one of the difficult things is keeping track of it. It's quite a thick book and a lot of item entries on every page, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of items that we have to account for, make sure we know that they've actually made it across and that they have gone to the proper place. And of course, they also put initials on there so they know who is responsible when they can't find it at a later date or if it doesn't make it home. So CJ just being the boss for resupply again. The MPLM's getting quite empty now, so it's very big volume to float around in. It's really kind of dreamy up here. A lot of people would love to be able to do it, and just a real pleasure to be up here and be able to do that.
Not everything that we transfer over to the space station came up in the MPLM. We do have some things on the mid-deck of the orbiter. One of those is a freezer that we carry up. And when we launched, it was at about +4 degrees Celsius, and we carried up some experiments that are going to be transferred over to the Japanese module. There's Nicole and I. We opened it up for the first time, and then what we're going to do is we're going to carry those over, and they'll be stowed in another freezer that's located on the space station. These are some of the carriers that the experiments come up in. After everything's out of there, we'll reduce the temperature from +4 degrees down to -95 degrees, and we'll end up returning some samples that need to be even colder back to Earth. We have great instructions from the folks on the ground that tell us exactly how to do that.
And the experiment that we were transferring this time from the shuttle over to the station freezer is one of the JAXA experiments. It's one of many different payloads that we have that is continuous research up here. This one is called RadSilk, and it's actually looking at the effect of radiation on silkworms, which can be then used to understand better the biological effects for humans in space as well. And Pat and I continuing to transfer, we're moving this box that is basically a cooler, keep the samples stable from the shuttle over to the station. And on station now, thanks to the 17A mission, we have 2 of the -80 degree freezers. We're going to the one that's up and running at this point. It's located in the JPM, or the Japanese Pressurized Module, the big Japanese laboratory. And you can see us here opening up one of the freezer sections, and we'll be placing all of those samples that we took from the shuttle into the freezer on the space station. Something that's interesting about the Melfi, or this freezer that's on station, is each of these different little sections can be set to different temperatures to support the different kinds of samples that are going in. Samples like this one, that's RadSilk, and we also put different items like our blood samples and urine samples in the freezer as well.
As Christopher mentioned earlier today, we've got an EVA plan for tomorrow. You see here the entire crew gathered in the Japanese module, and we're both reviewing the procedures and making sure that everyone understands their duties and roles and responsibilities for tomorrow's EVA. And we typically engage everyone. We've gotten commands and information from the ground, which we've incorporated into the procedures. Some deltas associated with the first EVA, and as well as some things that we need to look out for that kind of surprised us, and we'll need to take into account as we head out to our spacewalk tomorrow. This is going to be Chris's first one of the mission, and I'm looking forward to doing it with him. He's a veteran of 3 former EVAs, so he's bringing out a lot of experience to the team. You can see here Pat going over all the final tool configuration, getting us prepared. We spent most of the day in the airlock getting all the tools configured, and there Pat's just double-checking and rechecking everything that we've done to make sure we didn't leave something out, because once that hatch is closed, you can't come back. And fortunately, the tremendous amount of training that we get at NASA, JSC, really puts us in good shape and a good posture to conduct a safe and effective EVA. We're looking forward to it. For those of you following at home, we'll have EVA 2 tomorrow, and a lot more stuff from Flight Day Highlights of STS-128. Good night.
This is Mission Control to Houston. That was the crew's video highlights for the day, taking a look back at all the transfer activity. The crews were focusing on a lot of the transfer activity outside of the Leonardo multi-purpose logistics module. They got quite a bit of racks installed. They got the -80 laboratory freezer number 2 set up. The fluids integrated rack was moved over, and the materials science research rack was moved over as well.